says they looked unto him and their faces were lightened. We look to Yahweh, Yahweh. My hope is Yahweh, Yahweh. We look to Yahweh, Yahweh. Forever Yahweh. For you have taken all my pain, taken all the sorrow, you've taken all limitations, you've taken all.
Hey, looking for trusted student accommodations near your university? But aren't you tired of endlessly scrolling on sites?
Oh my god. Hi Mandy. Waiting to 12:30 now. Waiting 12:30 basically. Okay, it is 12:30, so we're going to get right into it. So sorry, we're going to my eye. So today is day 19. Oh my god, I can't believe it's day 19 of the devotion titled The Wooing, 31 Days of Responding to Abba's Ardent Pursuit. So this is day 19. And day 19, the devotion today is titled When a Change of Heart is Too Late. The anchor verse is still the same anchor verse. It's Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 26, and it says, I'll give you a new heart and I'll put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. Just to remind you that the reason for this Bible passage or this particular verse is because outside of a tender and a responsive heart, most of the lessons that we learn in Esther may be very difficult to implement. So we need to have a tender and responsive heart so that we can respond to God's love, because in these 31 days, God is really invested in your heart as a young professional, and whether in business or in career. So let me take down the volume a little bit more and then we'll continue. So day 19, a change of heart is too late. When a change of heart is too late, if you recall, we're currently on Esther chapter 6, and in Esther we've seen how Mordecai and Haman and Esther are in a web right now. Esther has gone to the king to complain that she has taken steps to save her people, who are the Jews. Haman is the perpetrator of the evil against the Jews. Mordecai was more or less the person that provoked Haman into, looking into picking on the Jews. But what we learned yesterday was that um, what happened in the Bible passages I read yesterday was that Haman went to the king. Haman had a poll set up for Mordecai and went to the king to go and report to get his permission to impale Mordecai on the pole that he set up. When he got there, he got derailed because Mordecai was what's the word now? Because the king wanted to honor Mordecai, and the king asked, "What do I do for a man that I want to honor?" But Haman thought that, oh, I'm the person the king wants to honor, so he went all out. Well, fortunately for him, it was Mordecai, and he had to take Mordecai around the whole town, saying, this is what the king does to a man that pleases him. But the most interesting thing is that Haman is totally humiliated, because remember, this is somebody that you're planning to kill, and they have to go around, more or less commending him as the star boy, or still a star man of the king. So he was totally humiliated, and that's where we are now in Esther chapter 6, 13 to 14. We see that his family members tell him that you need to whatever machination you have against Mordecai, you need to stop, because obviously you cannot win this guy. This guy is like steps ahead of you. So that's where we are. So what did focal verses tell us? It says, after his humiliation, Haman got advice from his wise advisors and his friend that it might be futile to continue to oppose Mordecai. He was happy to abide by this advice. However, because he needed to make it to the banquet, he gave no thought to the sharpened pole he had prepared for Mordecai. So he had already set things in motion already, but it was already too late for him to undo the things he had said. He didn't even remember. By the time he took the advice, okay, let me not chase this man again. I've changed my mind. I'm not going to plan evil against somebody again. It was already too late. So there was no time to undo them, even though he had had a change of heart. So it did not matter, as we'll see in later chapters, that Haman had come to accept that he will continue to lose to Mordecai only if his wise advisors are not set him apart in the first place. It's very impossible not to feel sorry for him, because the first time I read Esther, I didn't realize that Haman actually had a change of heart. I thought he was just a wicked person that wanted to. But as you've seen in the lessons that we learned, for the past how many days, you see that the problem was that Haman overreacted, and that's one of the lessons we learned in devotion. Like, I can't remember the day, but dealing with rebellion, the truth is that people will not think you are all that. There are people that you meet and they will not even think you're a special person. So when you meet those kind of people, how do you relate to them? Would you just say that you hate this person doesn't like me, I hate them with everything that I have? Because that's what Haman did. Haman found that Mordecai didn't like him, and he felt that the thing he could do was to use all the position and authority at his disposal to teach Mordecai a lesson. So by the time he started teaching Mordecai a lesson, it was too late for him to change his mind. Mordecai had already gone to call Esther. Esther had gone to meet the king. It was too late. So I feel sorry for him, man, because really, it's something that could have happened to any of us, really. When somebody is just getting on your nerves and you feel like, I need to show this person pepper. I need to show this colleague in the office pepper. I need to show this competitor that is taking my clients pepper. But by the time you now go and start putting things in motion, start manipulating, scheming, by the time you want to change your mind, it may be a little bit too late. So there are lots of lessons, because we discussed, we discussed the lessons we learned from all the things that happened up until this point. But at this point, what they call it is the journey of no return. He couldn't go back. The king is already more or less aware, and things had already gotten serious. So we cannot separate. So how do the focal verses apply to you? As somebody as a young professional in business, what does this mean for you? So the truth is, you can't separate actions from consequences. When you set things in motion, the consequences too are also set in motion. So sometimes even when you stop and say, okay, you know what, I'm not doing it again, it may be too late, because the consequences have already been triggered. So think about actions and consequences as a snail and its shell. So the fact that maybe you set things in motion and then, I'm not doing it again, it may not really save you. So that's not to totally erase the possibility that the consequences may not crystallize since the action was not completed. Actions and consequences can be likened to felling a tree. Let me just read what is in devotion because I feel like it's really apt on the point. So we're talking about actions and consequences. Sometimes you may say, okay, you may start doing something and say, I don't want to do it again, but the consequences have already been triggered. So remember that the tree would only be felled after several strikes. You could stop in the middle of it and cut the tree trunk. However, you have to consider how the tree will withstand any serious wind or explosion. If you do not make provisions to keep it standing against a powerful wind or other weather phenomenon, the tree is definitely vulnerable and likely to remain standing. So the issue or the key thing here is that when we take actions, the consequences, when we've taken some certain steps, the consequences are already also triggered. So if you say, oh, I want to stop, I'm not more pursuing this course of action, then you need to also undo the consequences of what you've done initially. So let me just read it from the devotion. Sorry, my mouse is dodging. Okay. So let me say it is not enough to have a change of heart. It must be followed by direct attempts to also undo the consequences of already commenced actions or omission. Anything short of that may not significantly improve the situation, as we have seen in the case of Haman. So when maybe you said, maybe you've already made up your mind to kind of take certain steps and report a colleague that you should have no business reporting, you've said some things that you know that can affect a colleague's appraisal, then you need to go back. You can't just say, okay, I'm not more doing it again, because somebody has already taken that information and is going to work on it. Same thing, maybe your relationship with your client. You've taken some steps, like you want to blacklist this client is giving me serious headache, then you need to make sure that you take steps to also undo such things, undo the action, maybe remove the client from the blacklist, or maybe send a present to the client and say, oh, it was nice working with you or something, so that you are not just thinking that, oh, I'm no more doing again, and then the consequences of your actions are chasing you here and there. So let's pray. There are prayer points for you to consider in the devotional. The first one is for you to thank God for people that make you see the errors of your ways. It's very important, especially as somebody that is young and in business or career, for you to have people that will tell you this thing that you just did, it didn't make sense, or this thing that you're about to do is not going to pay you. If you have people like that around you, thank God for them. Thank God for people that stick their neck out. Thank God for people. What I always say is I thank God for people that don't mind their business when it comes to my life. Because if they were minding their business, I'll probably have made bigger mistakes. But because they were not minding their business, because they gave me unsolicited advice, I was able to backtrack and save myself from getting in trouble into my career. So that's number one. Then thank God for the times you're able to salvage a situation because you had a change of heart. So maybe that colleague that you promised yourself that I will never talk to this person again in my entire life. And then, something happened and you were like, look, maybe it's not that deep, right? And you reach out to the person and you found out that most of the biggest things that ever happened to you in your career was because of that person that you wanted to shortlist, that you wanted to blacklist in the first place. So thank God for the times when, because you had a change of heart, in a situation, you were able to have a win. Thank God for not allowing you to insist on getting your way or showing somebody else pepper. And then ask God to be merciful to you. We're praying. This is the third prayer point. Ask God to be merciful and mitigate adverse consequences of action you've taken and are unable to do. Because the truth is that there are some actions that you would have taken, you change your mind, but there are consequences and you can't undo the consequences. Things have already happened. Maybe you had a very difficult client, you had already exchanged words with the client, and there's nothing you can do to bring that client back. There's nothing, you can't go back and say, I'm sorry. I mean, you've said I'm sorry for all you said, but that client is like, I don't like rude people. I can't work with rude people. They just have the impression that you're rude, but maybe it was just a one-off thing. Can you just ask God to be merciful to you and mitigate these consequences that you're unable to change? Maybe in that case, you can pray for God to give you a second chance to make a good impression on that person, you see. And then finally, ask God to help you discern bad advice so that you do not act in a manner detrimental to your business or career. Remember that Haman was in this situation because he had people around him that were pushing him. His wife was pushing him. His friends were pushing him, telling him, you need to deal with Haman. And they were the same people that when things went south, they came back and told him, you can't fight, you can't win this guy. So pray is very important for you to pray as a young person, for you to pray that you should be able to discern bad advice in your career and your business, because you're young, you're impressionable. People will what's that word now? People will project exactly. It's not necessarily from a place of hatred, but they will say, when I was younger, this thing happened to me. Then they will give you bad advice. Not necessarily because they are wicked, but because they want you to avoid what they've avoided, but it may not necessarily be the best for you. So ask God for you to be able to discern, God, please help me to discern bad advice so that I don't go and put my head in something that is detrimental to me. Some people will tell you, oh, you need some clients, you need to put them in their place, you need to tell them this, you need to tell them that. And then you go and start talking to people anyhow because you feel you are being firm. You understand? And you end up losing clients in a business that you just started. Or people tell you, oh, you should learn to speak up if the workload is heavy. And at the end of the day, people, every time they give you work, they say, oh, can you do this? You say, no, you have work. No, you have work. And you find out that nobody's giving you tasks. Nobody's dedicating anything to you. So it was good advice, but in a way, it wasn't balanced enough, and you've gotten into trouble for it. So ask God to help you discern bad advice in a manner that is not detrimental to your business or career. So take action today. One thing we always do in the daily devotions, apart from extracting prayers and just learning insights from the stories of the people involved, one thing we always also do is to have like an action point for you for that day. So the action point for today, I feel it's sneeze coming. I'm sorry, the sneeze is really coming. So one thing you can do is to reflect on your career and your business growth in the past 1 year. What was the time when you started something and midway you said you were not going to do it again? So you really had a change of heart. So were there any adverse consequences? How do you think you can remedy them? So think about times you started something but you didn't finish it for one reason or the other. Maybe because you felt, okay, there's a better course of action for me to take now, and then there were some consequences that you didn't foresee. So think about it in the past 1 year. What did I pause on? What can I do to remedy the consequences of my action? And so that brings us to the end of today's devotion. So tomorrow tomorrow is day 20. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I can't believe like how far we've come. So day 20 it is not just about what you want to say, it is also about how you say it. And you see, this time we're learning from Esther. It's going to be very, very explosive. So we live in a time where people say, oh, I'm honest, I won't hide anything, you just say what's on your mind, but it's also very good to be, to say things appropriately, even though they are the right things. You also need to say them in the right manner. So that's the end of today's devotion. See you tomorrow by 12:30. If you've not gotten the devotion is available on Seller, so please make sure you get it. It is also available on Amazon, so make sure you also get a copy of it. You read it on Kindle. So see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining. I'll save the video as always so that you can always catch up later. All right, bye.